And now,
Ladies and gentlemen,
Please fasten your seatbelts.
Welcome to PreneurCast.
You know, business cards being swapped, beers being drunk.
Can I say a nasty word? Can I say procrastination?
With Pete Williams and Dom Kocher.
how well did that go down?
We can talk about that entire thing in a very another rant and soapbox episode if we want to.
Visit us online at preneurmedia.tv.
Hi, honey, I'm home. I am back.
Oh, it's just such a delightful sound, and even with the little birdie tweets in the background, just to herald the return of Mr. Pete Williams.
Yes, it's been a long time between episodes for me, unfortunately, or fortunately. There's been some amazing stuff happening in the last few weeks, so thank you very much for holding the fort down so professionally. But yes, I am back and ready to jump back into what is 2013's first podcast for me.
Yeah, not quite as planned, really, was it?
No, we sort of, we obviously had plans to change this year's podcasts up to be every 2 weeks, as opposed to weekly, just with a few other projects and other things we're working on this year, which is great. So obviously we're only 6 weeks in, but that means there's been 3 episodes that I've missed. But, that's all good. We survived, the listeners survived, and we're back at it again, which is very exciting.
It's cool, and I think it's actually a testament to your ability to ride with change and to adapt, and also the strength of your systems. That given the change in your life that a new baby has brought, you're back on track in such a relatively short period of time.
Yeah, he's a month old tomorrow, as of time of recording, and it's been a crazy month. It's been a little bit different to what I expected. Which is, good and bad. He's definitely already teaching me patience, which is a good thing. I think I'm going to learn a lot from this little fella. But no, it's been good. It's been a little crazy the first couple of weeks. He wasn't eating overly well, so that kind of put a little bit of stress on Fleur and I, just probably a little bit undue stress. We probably overanalyze things a little bit in hindsight, but I think that's pretty common for first-time parents. But he's all good now. He's putting on weight, and he's a lot of fun. So it's very exciting. But I think I'm pretty much back into a new routine now. Obviously, babies can change quite a bit and throw routines out. But Fleur, I have to say, is absolutely amazing. So it's been very handy to have an amazing person by my side to sort of give me that ability to get back into the work routine relatively quickly, which is exciting.
Excellent. Well, on behalf of everyone, all the listeners and the Preneur community, just officially say congratulations to you and your lovely wife. You're back. And do you want to dive straight in and pick a topic? Yeah,
well, actually, before I do, I just want to sort of touch on your comment just then, is that I've been absolutely amazed, and Flo has as well, with the response from the community. It's been insane. Like, the amount of emails and tweets and advice and suggestions we've had, it's been absolutely fantastic. So everyone who sort of replied to emails that have been sent out, newsletters and noise reduction newsletters and all that sort of stuff, but been a whole bunch of replies with people just, giving us tips on what to do and apps to download and books to buy and things like that. And it's been amazing. So thank you very much to each and every one of you who took the time to email and tweet and send messages like that. So it's been very much appreciated. But in terms of topics and stuff, I thought we could actually dive in and continue on our If I Was A series. I really enjoyed the episode or so that we did late last year, and I think it's something we can start doing a little bit more regularly in the show, is sort of revisit the whole 7 levers framework, which is the foundation or a big core of the podcast here. And it's a way for us to sort of continually, hopefully, spark people's ideas and give them seeds of inspiration around different ways to apply the 7 levers in different industries. And I thought today we could talk about, tradespeople, so, carpenters, woodworkers, plumbers, gardeners, those sort of trades, service businesses. But I really want to reinforce, like we kind of do at the start of any of these episodes, that if you're not a tradie, if you're an online marketer, if you're an affiliate marketer, if you're a retail store owner, still listen through this episode and think about how you can swipe and deploy the ideas and suggestions that we sort of cover for a 7 levers framework as a tradie and see how you could apply it to your business. Because I think where most people will actually grow as entrepreneurs, I think in two sides of that coin is when they look at swipe and deploy. And one is when you start actually putting your thinking cap on and forcing yourself to think creatively about, how you can apply other ideas to your business and actually start building that gap. It makes you sort of start thinking on your own feet. So when other ideas come up, you can easily more effectively see how you can apply that to your business. And that is a huge leap for an entrepreneur. You're no longer stuck following the guru, so to speak, and doing exactly as they say. When you can actually make that jump to start thinking on your own and going through the process of looking at swipe and deploy or listening to things like this and going, okay, how can I mold this to my business is one huge thing. And I think also the other side of the coin is kind of what I touched on then as well, which is just the whole thinking about stuff and actually just, looking at other ways and trying to come up with your own ideas and not following someone else's system, I think is really important. So I do really encourage everyone to listen through these and think about, if you were a tradie, how would you apply this? And actually look at it from that perspective, but also see how you can apply these examples to your current projects.
Yeah, this whole series came, and we were talking about this recently. This whole series came about because wherever we go, whenever we talk to people and we talk about the 7 levers framework, people will come up and say, "Well, yeah, but how does that apply to me?" And we're picking as many and varied groups of people as we can to come up with these ideas and show you how that they can apply to you in your industry, your business. But it is really, really important that you do what we're doing. We're mining our creativity or using our experience and things we've seen people do, or we're applying things that we know work across the board. But there's examples everywhere, every day, that you can see and you can use. Pete, you say swipe and deploy, and it's not everybody really necessarily understands that, but it is a simple practice, as you say, of looking around and seeing what other people are doing and applying that to your business. And it doesn't matter that they're not in your industry. In fact, sometimes it's better that they're not, because very often there's a technique out there that's tried, true, and even worn thin, that has never been done in your industry, but is wearing thin somewhere else. We talk about this in the internet world, in marketing online, and this idea of autoresponders. The systems that you can set up where you can set up a series of emails, and when somebody subscribes to your email list, this system just emails them on a regular basis, or an irregular basis, by the way. You can set it up to do it randomly or whenever. But it personalizes the email to them. Well, in the inverted commas, because you hate the phrase, internet marketing space, I know if somebody's written me an email or if it is an autoresponder. It's obvious to me, and it's obvious to most people who operate in these circles. But people that operate in these circles are such a tiny percentage of the world population versus however many people out there you could possibly be sending these emails to, that it's impressive to 99.99% of the population of the world if they get an email with their name in it. And it's just simple little things like that. Just because it's worn out in another industry doesn't mean it won't work for yours. And similarly, if it is working in another industry or another business, there's a real chance it's going to work for you too. So always be on the lookout for these opportunities, right? Absolutely. Cool. Right. Well, let's dive in. And if I was, and I'm going to use the proper terminology for my host, if I was a tradie, how would the 7 levers apply to me?
Yeah, well, I think we can just start banging through a whole bunch of ideas and sort of thinking about how this applies. So let's look at obviously a tradesman. Traffic, like anybody, for them is going to be first time inquiries to their business and service. And there's a whole range of different opportunities for a tradesperson to advertise their services and get that first time inquiry. Now, obviously, AdWords and online marketing is, I think, one of the greatest ROIs any business can actually have when it comes to traffic generation. And the really cool thing with AdWords, as a lot of people know and some don't, is that you can target a specific geographical area. And this is a really cool thing for a tradesman. You know, obviously, if you are a e-commerce store, you can advertise anywhere that the couriers or the postal service deliver. That's pretty straightforward. But obviously, with a service business, if you're based in Los Angeles, you don't want to necessarily advertise in Santa Monica or in San Diego. Or if you're in Melbourne, you don't want to advertise in Ballarat. You know, you want to make sure it's within a certain radius of where you are willing to drive to do the work. So what you can do, obviously, with AdWords is say, I want to advertise my plumbing services, and you choose, you know, all the different keywords around plumbing, plumbers, pipe fixing, etc., and say, I only want my ad to show to people if they are within a 10-mile, a 20-kilometre radius of my home. That's as far as I want to drive for the work I do. So you can get very, very targeted with your advertising. Which is hugely successful because there's less wastage. And it also gives you the ability, with less wastage, to pay more for the advertisement, because the cost per opt-in or the cost per conversion that we'll get to in a moment should be the same. The less wastage you have, and the more you can actually pay for the lead, which means you can say, I'm going to pay a lot more for my ad to display at number 1 in this geographical radius, because I know that there's not going to be any noise or wastage in that advertising from a geographical perspective, which is hugely beneficial. So I think that is a big thing.
Sorry, can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah, sure.
Because I mean that in itself is amazing to me. I love, the first time I found out about the geo-targeting stuff, I was like, wow, that's awesome. But can you actually run an advert that has its content targeted to the area that you're talking about? And is that a good idea?
So we're saying the words in the advert itself actually have... you can in a couple of different ways. And I don't want to get too complicated and too deep in here. Like, you know, Mike Rhodes of Web Savvy is probably the best guy to direct those questions to if anyone wants to know a bit more about AdWords. But what you can do is a couple of different things. Is if you have your AdWords account linked in with your Google Places account, which is something I'll talk about in depth in a moment, what it can do is then actually put location-based stuff in the advert to a certain extent, which, you know, can achieve some of that. The other side of the coin is you can obviously then, if you wanted to, create a number of different ad groups. So if you want to service different suburbs, you can actually, you know, get really granular as well and say this ad group is only a 5-kilometre radius, and that way you can sort of put in the word, for example, Hollywood area plumbing, and any of the sort of different keywords around anyone in Hollywood. It just shows that. So you can get really granular in sort of the size of the groups and the actual word you put in the adverts to be very specific to those suburbs or councils or areas. That's a couple of ways I could think of off the top of my head to sort of achieve those sort of results.
Cool. I mean, it was more a can you do it rather than how you would do it. But
fair enough.
It's cool that the power is there that you can do it, and even just knowing that you can do that, I think will maybe turn somebody on to AdWords that probably hadn't thought about it before because they didn't see it was relevant necessarily to their service. So
yeah, because I think a lot of people when they first hear about AdWords, if they're not in that sort of world, they think, oh, I don't want to advertise my business on the internet to everybody. They don't sort of realise you can actually get targeted to sort of geographical areas. So it's based on where the person is literally sitting when they're actually searching for your business, which is really cool. But, you know, cool. the next thing is that extension I spoke about is Google Places or Google Maps or Google Local, depending where you look and what they're calling it that week. And basically that's the map service of Google. So obviously people, most likely, I think everyone here has used Google to search for a location-based service. So it might be chemist, sunshine, or obviously in this case, you know, landscaper, New York City. Which is probably a bit of an oxymoron because there's probably not many actual places in New York City you can do landscaping.
I was going to say that, but
but people get the example. And what happens is, you know, you'll see in the results page of Google a map with obviously all the listings of locations and people who have little pins on the map of saying, you know, this person's based here, this person's based here. Well, I think again, you know, people are using that a lot more for searching for location-based services and products. So obviously, having your business listed in Google Places is a huge one that everyone should do. It's completely free, very easy to do. So something someone should also check out as well.
That's actually really important for people when they're searching on their mobiles, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
That's a huge amount of traffic that goes to that Google Local. Is people looking for things when they're actually out and about. So depending on the type of business, I think that's quite relevant, right?
And there's plenty of other ways. Like, there's a great service with some guys in Australia that I know and work with, that they have 1-800 repairs and 1-800 cleaning. And what their service is designed to do is they'll go and do all the lead generation stuff, or the noise generation at least, because they'll advertise their services like, if you want a tradesman, call 1-800 repairs and we'll find you someone. So they'll go out and do that due diligence. And then what they do, if you are a tradesperson, subscribe to their service, they'll turn around to you and say, hey, Johnny, we had a inquiry today for someone who can do some landscaping or can fix your stairs that are broken or the plumbing, whatever it might be. Are you interested in that lead to quote? And they'll say yes, and they'll pay for the lead. So basically what this is actually a business and a service, and there's plenty of them all around the world, that will go out and get you qualified leads. So that traffic generation is done for you, and you could almost, depending on how you want to make your funnel, argue that that's almost an opt-in as well, that can do it for you for a set fee, and you just pay for the lead, which is a sensational service, paying for leads and not having to worry about all that noise generation and stuff like that. So those sort of services are definitely worth checking out as well, is that lead generation companies that will just pay you for charge you for qualified lead generation.
That's really powerful, because that goes back to something we talked about on a previous episode, where about marketing a product. If you had a product you wanted to sell, would you A, start out trying to make your own shop just to sell your product, or would you go to another shop that's already got the chain and distribution and everything there? And this is a similar thing, isn't it? These guys at 1-800 repairs and 1-800 cleaning, they're investing their money in huge advertising campaigns, in the infrastructure to handle the calls and qualify and everything. So by the time the lead gets to you, it's already qualified, as you said, but it's that other thing. They're out there in front of everybody, whatever they're doing to market this thing and generate the traffic. I would say it would save you a fortune, because I don't think you could reach the same level as an individual tradesperson that they can reach by applying all that effort to it.
Yeah, and like those sort of, the AdWords, the places and services like these guys have, I think are sort of three of the lowest hanging fruit that everyone should actually be doing. There's plenty of other ideas and ways and to actually advertise your business as a tradesman to get the traffic, but I don't want to labour the point too much. I want to sort of just start this out.
There I go, focusing on traffic like everybody else always does.
Yeah, it's an important part of the function. If you don't have any traffic, you can't have any opt-ins or conversions or items per sale or anything down that sort of funnel. So it is the first thing here to focus on, but it is only one of the 7 areas that actually do drive the profit of your business. So the next thing is obviously opt-ins, and it comes down to sort of a number of different ways you can argue about opt-ins. If you're running an AdWords campaign, or even a Google Places campaign to a certain extent, and you're getting that traffic to come to your website, and the opt-in is obviously someone calling up and saying, hey, Billy Bob, can you come out and quote on doing some roof restoration for me? That's the sort of the trade I need done. So that's your opt-in, is someone actually seeing your marketing, responding to it, by actually calling up and allowing you to come out and quote. So for those sort of scenarios, obviously, if you have a website, you want to be very, very clear about the objective, which is for someone to either A, pick up the phone and request a free quote, or someone filling out an online form on the website at least saying, hey, this is my name, this is my area, this is what I want to have done, can you come and quote for me? So you want to make it very, very clear. So with very clear calls to action on these things. If you're doing Yellow Pages advertising, again, it's really important that it's all benefit driven with calls to action. And realistically, as a traffic generation, to kind of go back for a moment, Yellow Pages can still work, people. Don't believe the hype. It can still work if you do it properly. Because there's less noise in there, because everyone's dropping like flies. So if you're in there, there's definitely a huge part of every target market of people still going to Yellow Pages. If you're a tradesperson wanting to target a more mature demographic, which is, by the way, the boomers and those sort of demographic who don't all use the internet, has the most disposable income going around these days. So it's not a bad idea to work out where they are and how to get in front of them, and Yellow Pages is one of those ways. So you want to make sure that you have, a clear understanding and a clear process of, getting that opt-in, getting people to actually, willingly get you to come out and quote. And whether that is quoting over the phone or going out and doing a live quote, that is sort of the whole opt-in angle around that, which you've got to be very, very clear on.
So, a clear call to action is one way to increase opt-ins. And it literally is a statement like, call this number and request a quote. Which, I mean, we've said before in the past, in various situations and in the consulting that we've done, the first thing we do if we look at someone's website is say, what is the goal of this page? What's the goal of the website? What is an opt-in for you? And if it's, well, we would like a phone call, then we strongly suggest that you put the phone number in big letters at the top of the page and write phone us for, and then tell them what to do.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. And this, as a tradesperson, you could almost a service business like an IT company. The IT company that we actually use in our office for the telco business and the e-com businesses and stuff like that. And we're in the process of implementing I think it's about a $45,000 new server. I was in the office last night with them till about 11 o'clock, getting a lot of that sort of stuff sorted out. But I had to, make a phone call to them during the week and didn't have any of their details handy, so I went to their website and their phone number is below the fold on the contact us page in size 12 font. And it's infuriating that you got to make me click 3 times to contact you. It's like, hang on, I want to do business with you guys, and obviously they had the contract. But even if I was a first time prospect that stumbled across their website and wanted to make contact with them, I'd find it frustrating. It's like I've got to spend 45 additional seconds, 3 clicks to figure out how to contact you. Isn't that the whole purpose of your website? Is to get leads to call you? They didn't have a quote, request a quote, or any sort of form anywhere else on their website. So clearly, the objective of that website was to get leads to call. But the way to do that was hidden. It's moronic. It's like saying, I'm going to open a retail store and hide the cash register in the back corner behind all the moo-moos. So you can't find it. It's just ridiculous.
Absolutely. Although we've seen retail stores where, when we were over in Florida, we saw a retail store, a very, very well-known brand of clothing, and actually finding the way in was a challenge. That was fascinating. But yeah, it's absolutely, this is it. And it is that thing, and you talk there about the older, more mature people. Well, there's a group, that they're kind of bunched into groups. There's the people that have disposable income because they haven't found the internet and therefore they haven't found eBay and things like that yet. There's the gang that use things like Yellow Pages out of that. But then there's they just got online. So they got online, they've mastered Google, and my mum is in this crowd, right? Mastered Google, type it in, and then they sit there and stare at the screen because they literally don't know what to do next. But if your website had the phone number, then they'd feel so much more comfortable and they'd pick you.
Yep.
It's that simple, and it's these little things, and in the services industry, it's I think more important than anywhere else.
Mm. So let's again not labour the opt-in point. There's plenty of other ways.
Sorry,
we've spoken. No, we just need to go on because there's another 5 levers we need to chat about, and we want to make sure we can fit that into the episode. But there's plenty of other times we've spoken about opt-ins and stuff on the show. So the next one is conversions. So obviously getting that person who has received that quote to actually buy from you. And I think this is a huge growth opportunity for almost every tradesperson I've ever worked with in my life. So many people come out with their sort of old school sort of notebook. They jot down their notes, use that sort of paper where, you write it down on the back of the paper. It actually gives you a carbon copy, and they rip it out and give you that as a quote. It's just this handwritten thing of what the quote's going to be for the work. And it's just, it's what everyone else does. There's nothing that sets you apart. And one of the things that we did very early on in our telco business, which, by any token, you can argue that it's a service-based business. We sell phone systems, but we don't manufacture them. We just come in and fundamentally, charge the client a fee for us to install it, program it, train them, support them. So you could very much argue that it's a service-based business. And the very first thing we did, or one of the very first things we did when we started to really explode that business around Australia, was purely based on our quoting and our proposals. All our competitors were doing black and white proposals with the client's name, a list of all the parts, one line saying installation, and then a big black figure at the bottom which people had to pay. We came in being non-phone system people ourselves with a technical background and did beautiful 4 or 5 page proposals with big photos of their handsets, bullet points of what actually happens on the installation process, the benefits they're going to get. When we listed out what they actually got from a phone system perspective, we didn't sort of mention that it was an ATA 4 card with a BRI 7. We were saying stuff like, it is a phone system equipped for 4 phone lines. it have the ability to have up to 12 handsets plugged into this system. We're providing you with 6 handsets with big photos. We made it very, very clear, easy, and not scary for the prospect and the client. And I think a lot of tradespeople have that ability still in their industry to go in there with a nice professional, polo shirt on and take your shoes off at the front door and do a very nice process. And actually, if you're going out and doing those quotes to actually get the work, which most people have to actually do, you're doing it in a much more professional and respectful manner. And I think that for everyone I've worked with and spoken to, have actually applied even just like a 2 or 3 page, very clear proposal. And you can do that so well these days on iPad. You can have your iPad with you on the job and do it all on an iPad with, there's plenty of quotation services and plugins and tools that can do this sort of quoting stuff for you very, very easily. And you can make a much more professional presentation. You can email it from your iPad straight away. And things like that can do a much better job in just, increasing your conversion rate from opt-ins and quotes to obviously customers by tenfold, not just 10%.
Absolutely, and that's the thing is that this kind of technology now, it's not expensive, it's not super mega customized or anything. It's literally if you have an iPad, go in the App Store and download the invoicing, quotation, whatever it is, software. It's going to be cheap and it's away you go. And you will stand out. And standing out is what matters these days, right?
Yep, no, it is. It's about standing out and being different and showing that you actually care. So there's some very easy ways. And obviously, I think learning how to sell is something that we preach quite a bit on here. But, so many tradespersons, this is a part of the problem with the industry, is you go and do a 3-year apprenticeship and you come out and you're a mechanic or you're a plumber or you're a roof tiler or you're a painter and you have this skill set, which is fantastic, to actually do the trade, to do the mechanics. But you have no core business skills. And I think part of this, you have to learn how to sell. Because at the end of the day, turning a prospect and a opt-in into a client through that conversion process is selling. You have to be able to go in there and future pace that conversation. You have to go in there and actually, work out what the objections are going to be and work out how serious they actually are. And part of this, from the opt-in scenario is over the phone, work out how serious this person actually is about renovating their house, doing that extension, landscaping that backyard, because you don't want to go out there and be doing more and more quotes for more and more people who are just getting an idea and a feel and not actually in that buying cycle. So learning how to sell actually can give you that skill set.
Good tip. I don't suppose there's any one particular book or something that you could recommend people might want to look at to get an overview or an idea?
Oh, look, I think Spin Selling is a great one. I think Influence by Cialdini is worth a read as well, when you read it with the context of I want to learn how I can apply this to selling. Wombat Selling is another great one. There's plenty of Tom Hopkins stuff, who's obviously historically in real estate, but some of those basic fundamental stuff can still apply if you get that context. And I really do think it's an ever growing and ever learning sort of process of learning how to sell and communicate. You want to continually doing that all the time.
But you did make a good point that people are technically proficient at their craft or their trade when they've done their study and they've finished their apprenticeship or whatever. But so few people have this other training, the business level training. It's very rarely part of what you're taught to do. I mean, I think more modern teaching is going that way now. People are taught the business, but anybody that's already there now and in one of these businesses maybe doesn't have that as part of their skill. They've maybe just kind of worked their way through it. So just taking that time to study these techniques can make a huge difference. And
I think definitely the business stuff is getting taught more, but it's more about the debits and credits and the books side of the technical side of the business, again, not the marketing side of the business, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. So moving on to the next lever, let's hit next, let's say, for example, items per sale as the next one. We can sort of look at doing that as the next one. So with this, obviously, people sort of get really confused from a tradesperson perspective as well. How do I increase my items per sale? Because I'm doing a service, I'm charging for a service, so I can't sort of do 2 services. Well, there's actually a number of ways you can actually look at doing increasing items per sale. And one of them is obviously, doing your service and working out what supplementary products and services you can sell. So obviously, if you're a landscaper, it's pretty easy to say, well, I'll come out and do your landscaping and your gardening, but let me try and sell you some plants as well. That's an obvious way to sort of increase the amount of items per sale and per transaction as a tradesperson. Again, obviously, if you're a roof tiler, there's ways you can sort of, potentially, if you want to extend your product line, start offering things like insulation in the roof and other sort of potentially supportive solutions. But what I suggest and talk most about when I consult with tradespeople and owners of franchises and businesses in that trade sort of space is looking at doing some unique things. So rather than trying to increase your items per individual sale, look at doing bundle sales where you actually sort of pre-selling, saying, well, hang on, you can buy this service today for $300, or for $500 you can actually buy a coupon book that gets you 10 hours of my time. And obviously this job's going to take up 6 of those hours, but then you have 4 hours at a much more cost-effective solution for me to come back and do something more for you later, or do something additional at the house, and we can landscape your backyard, but we'll also landscape your front yard a little bit. And sort of pre-selling that, a friend of mine and a client to a certain extent had a business here in Australia who was doing that. They were a trades-based business, and what they were doing, their core focus was actually selling sort of almost like coupon books of time. And if people would go and pre-purchase almost like a maintenance contract or an insurance policy that would say, you can actually pre-buy 4 hours of our time. And we'll come out for an hour every time, and that's covered. And you use one of those coupon things. And I thought that was a very, very intelligent way and a very, very cool way for a service-based business to actually sort of, almost sell gift cards and gift vouchers, because he found that the redemption quite a bit, the upsell rate made it worth it, but the redemption rate made it even more worth it, because so many people didn't go and redeem the rest of those coupons or the rest of that time they had pre-purchased. And obviously it expired, it elapsed, and he kept the money and didn't have to provide the service. But the client had that peace of mind, that they were buying peace of mind, knowing that they wouldn't have to pay for issues in the future if they had it. And everyone does that with insurance. Personally, I know in the telco space and a lot of sort of IT scenarios, people pay maintenance contracts where you pay a fee every single month. Beyond that, so people are buying the service, installation of the product, whatever it might be, and also paying continually for maintenance and support around that, which is I think a lot of other tradespeople can be doing. You can sell them landscaping and also sell them 3 follow-up visits to make sure it's all there and mow the lawn or whatever it might be.
Cool.
Awesome. So which lever should we do next, mate? Should we do item value?
Yeah. Let's because I know what you're going to say, so I'm interested to see if you say anything different this time.
Besides just up your prices.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, I think upping your prices is one thing, but going in the way you're going into your business right now, the way you're going in and quoting right now, the way you're in and delivering your service right now, presenting the way you are. For a lot of tradesmen, upping your price is not a way to go, because so many people buy on price because everyone looks the same. But if you're going in there with a more professional portfolio, a more professional quote, a more professional conversation, presentation, the way you look when you go and do that quote, 10% increase in prices can easily be justified, and clients will pay it all day long. If you stand out as more professional, as more trusted, as more diligent, as more qualified, which you can easily do in your presentation during the traffic, the opt-in, and the conversion phases, a 10% increase can be justified without doing anything else except for just presenting better. So I do really believe in that. The other option as well is obviously offering premium solutions. So you can say that, and I've seen this worked, and it depends on the industry, but you could say, well, look, I have an apprentice or a junior team member who can do what you want at this price. Or we can get one of our senior technicians or our senior service providers or our senior roofers or our senior plumbers to do the job and pay a 10% premium for their time and give the client the choice. Some people will go, oh, look, it should be fine with it. It's a simple job. I'll pay for the apprentice. Not a problem. So you can actually charge different rates. So you charge a premium. You don't charge a discount for your apprentice. You charge your normal rates for the early people, the juniors, but you pay a premium for the senior people. Definitely one way of doing it, which works exceptionally well. Another thing
I like that. The hairdressers do that all the time.
Yep.
Would you like the senior stylist?
Yeah, and this is like the whole swipe and deploy scenario here. Is it works in so many different scenarios. Again, financial planners, hairdressers. There's even sort of in that sort of massage and sports physio space, they do that as well. They have different people charge more within the same business, so you can offer that service as well. But you could then also obviously offer in your quoting premium solutions. So you can say, well, look, we can do it with this sort of grade material at this price, Or for this grade material, you do it at this price. And you offer 2 options in your quotes. And you show the benefits of why the premium service is worth looking at. And you make it so powerful in the way you present that pricing that it makes sense to go the premium, to pay that extra 10% for all the different benefits and additions. So there's some easy ways that you can start charging more for your services and getting more revenue in the door per client, which is what that particular lever is all about increasing. Because again, remember, all we're trying to do across all these 7 levers is just increase each one by 10%. If you go and do AdWords advertising in your business right now, you will know most likely for most businesses that I work with who are sort of just getting started or growing, and even some senior businesses, you can get a 10% increase with just one quick 3-hour implementation of AdWords. By changing up your proposals, which might take you a day or 2 to put together, a template and maybe outsource it to get it designed. That will increase your opt-ins and your conversions by 10%. So all we're looking for is very small increments of increases. They all add up. It will, at the end of the day, double the profit of your business.
Absolutely. Just one thing to come back to that, increasing your prices. The inverse of increase your prices is the thing that we're basically allergic to, and we say to everybody, which is don't automatically offer a discount. And one of the things that you said there about the apprentice or the lower grade technician or whatever can come in and do that job is a way of dealing with people who do ask for a discount or do ask for you to lower your price.
Yep. Absolutely.
It's like. Yeah, so this is just a good tip. I don't want us to just bring that one up.
Cool. Awesome. So we've got traffic, opt-ins, conversions, items per sale, item value. The next one on our list as part of the 7 levers is transactions per period. So this is the amount of time people come and use your services over and over again. And again, depending on how your funnel works and what sort of lever you want to put where and how you want to pull it, you could argue that some sort of subscription service is a items per sale option compared to or versus a transactions per period. So you could say, depending on how you want to pull this, that I'm going to sell a subscription to people, that I'm going to come back and mow their lawn and landscape their garden every month for the next 12 months, and it's a contract. And you could argue that that is now 12 transactions. And this all comes down to how you want to mold the levers to your business. So this is a key high-level thing that we've spoken about before in overview 7 levers episodes here on PreneurCast. So you could argue that is definitely one way of doing it. Obviously, follow-up marketing is a simple way of doing this. Postcard marketing, follow-up marketing. There's a great idea you could be doing is if you are a landscaper or if you're a painter, if you're a roofer, something that actually does something visual to a client's property, for example, if you're in that sort of trade area. Well, what you could be doing is standing at the front of the house as you leave at the end of the job, taking a photo of how good the lawn and the house looks. And then what you can do is that lawn is going to grow and it's just inevitable that the weeds are going to get in there and things are going to change, is that 45, 60 days, 90 days later, using a service like send out cards and send that client a photo of their house saying, hey Julie, thanks so much for allowing us to do your work last month. It was such a pleasure. I'm glad that the house came out looking like it does on the front of this postcard. If you ever want us to come back and continue to maintain it and make it look like this all the time, just give us a call. We've got a 10% discount or a bonus for you or whatever it might be. Very simple, non-threatening piece of marketing. And if someone walks out to their letterbox, grabs that postcard out of the front of their letterbox, looks at the photo and goes, damn, that house looks awesome, turns around and starts to walk back into the house and realise that the weeds have grown, that the lawn's there, that's getting a bit out of control now because they haven't had time to maintain it, they're going to go, I want that look again, I want that feeling again, and that pride of having the best house on the street, and they'll call you straight away. So that follow-up marketing is very, very important. Work out that the service you offer, when is the time that it should be checked up? Dentists do this. I got a phone call this week from my dentist who I had some fillings and some stuff, and they called me this week saying, hey, it's time for a checkup. Do you want to book that in? Now, I wouldn't have proactively called them if they didn't call me, but I said, yes, let's book it in. So if you proactively follow these people up with postcard marketing or phone calls, whatever it might be, you will absolutely, unequivocally get a 10% increase in conversion rate. You just have to ask yourself the question, what is the next thing I can sell this client? Is it a additional service, a subsidiary service, or the same service again? So if you're a painter, you can come back and sell them a different sort of paint. We'll come back and do your kitchen. You've done the outside of your house last time. Landscaping one's obvious. Plumbing's a bit harder, or electrical services are a bit harder. Maybe you can come in and do someone's job to actually fix the power going to the air conditioner. That's the job you've done as an electrician. When someone's Googled you, found your website, called you up, you've gone and proposed really well, you've got the job, you fix their electrical work. Well, you can follow up with an audit. You can say, hey, look, we're doing an audit this quarter. We're going to come in and check all your electricals to make sure there's no sort of chance of fires or anything like that, as an idea. Working out what is that follow-up solution you can actually have. And that is what you need to go and market in some sort of automated fashion, whether it is, diarized or auto-responded through an email service or done through send-out cards at a particular date, working at some sort of automated follow-up sequence to sell them again. And I think so many tradespeople do a job and ignore that client and that prospect, which is very, very silly.
Yeah, and it is. It's all about this idea. I mean, really, transactions per period is most people go, they do whatever they were asked to do, and they go away. And you want to try and increase the number of times you do work for that client. Now, you mentioned hairdressers and dentists and things like that. And one of the things that we've said before in the 7 levers, and one of the most simple things is certainly for anybody who's got any kind of thing that they can return and do again for a client. And that checklist you just gave there, what is the next thing you could provide to them? What, is it the same service? Is it an auxiliary service? Whatever. If you think your way through that, be ready when you complete the job to say, would you like to book another whatever? A hairdresser will say, just before you leave, would you like to book your next appointment? Yeah? What's wrong with a landscape gardener saying, would you like to book me to come back in 6 months and do a tidy up?
Yeah.
Would you like me to do a winter tidy or a spring tidy or whatever, And you can do it there and then before you leave, right?
Yeah, and I think something like, like a computer repair company should be doing this as well. That's a service-based solution. You can sort of definitely class yourself as a tradesperson to a certain extent under that umbrella. So obviously, if you're going and fix someone, you restore their hard drive or you do something, for their computer, well, obviously, it's an easy sell saying, hey, every 3 months, let me come back for an hour and I'll defrag and clean up your computer and delete the trash and delete the old temp files and all that sort of stuff and make sure your computer's running to get a bit more life out of it. That's an obvious, a very easy upsell. And you can be doing that sort of stuff in an autoresponder series with sort of, not scaremonger marketing, that's definitely not the term to use, but sort of saying, emailing, a newsletter every month saying, hey, be aware of viruses this month, or have you thought about defragging, or have you thought about cleaning up your temp files, or backing up. And every month you market to your list and your community and your past clients different things that you can do as a service. And then for a computer repair person, there's plenty of things that you can be doing and setting up on a regular basis for your clients.
Absolutely.
Cool. And this brings us to the last lever, which is margins. And obviously, for a lot of tradespeople, their first reaction is, well, I can't really affect my margins without increasing my price because I'm selling my labour. And absolutely, that is a concern. Now, obviously, having the more apprentices and juniors on your team, which is where you pay their wage low and you sell their time high, is obviously a one way of increasing margins. It's a bit of slave labour to a certain extent, but it's one way of tweaking your margins. But it is very, very few tradespeople who don't, on some level, need some sort of goods. Painters need paint. Concreters need concrete. Coverers need the chemicals to cover the concrete. Every tradesperson at some level needs their goods and services. Cleaners need chemicals, obviously. And one of the best things I've seen, and I've spoken this before on the podcast, that can absolutely work for tradespeople if they look at it the right way and do it the right way, is some sort of trade exchange. Like, for example, barter card. You go and sell your excess time. So Friday afternoon, rather than knocking off at 3:30 and going to the pub, you do an extra hour and a half of work for a barter card client. It's time you wouldn't have otherwise spent. You would have been spending it doing nothing because you weren't flat out busy. You do that extra couple of jobs a week for barter card money. So it's quote unquote additional business or free revenue, if you want to look at it that way, like we spoke about and explained in a lot more context on that particular episode of the show, is you go out there and you do that extra business. You get the extra $200 worth of trade that week. And then you look for a supplier of chemicals, of whatever goods you actually use as inputs for your service. And you spend that trade dollars there. So you spend that $200 over there on that chemical. So that $200 cash you would have had to have spent that came in from the job on Wednesday at Julie's house stays in your pocket. And the chemicals that you bought is being bought with that additional hour and a half time that you wouldn't have otherwise had because you would have spent it at the pub because you didn't have any cash work. Bartercard got you that additional work. That $200 cash is now back in your pocket. You can spend on the family. It's your $200 cash. It's not your supplier's. The supplier has taken Bartercard, that extra time. And that is an absolute, unquestionable difference to the margins and bottom line of your business. And I think so many people don't think and consider Bartercard, particularly in a service business, as a very, very smart way to increase your margins very, very effectively.
Nice one. Like it. And there's lots of other things. You know, I mean, and even if you don't, just consider for 1 second you don't have consumables. I can't believe it, but just in case, you know, there's always going to be something that you have to purchase as a business expense. And there's an opportunity in the Bartercard model to go and get that thing with the Bartercard trading model. So yeah, using up what like downtime or dead time or time you don't have clients to build up your Bartercard balance is awesome. You know, but it could just be something as simple as having better business cards printed through a printer on Bartercard. Yeah,
yep, absolutely.
That's a business expense. You know, and maybe it's even having your vehicle serviced.
Anything like any direct costs you have, because that margins thing, as you're saying there, Dom, is absolutely the margins is not just about direct margins. It's also about overall profitability of the business.
That's it. Yeah, because so many people don't see that as a bigger picture, and it's really important when we talk about this. And you know, when we talk about the kind of foundational stuff of the 7 levers, the margin isn't just what literally your margin on the sale, that like if you were selling an item, you'd put an amount over the cost of the item. It's the overall profitability and effectiveness of your business, which you can address in a number of ways, you know, which can include training your team. If you have got apprentices, improving their skill level can improve their efficiency. And that's a profit center in your business. It's improving your margins.
Yeah. And I had another idea around margins that I've completely forgotten. Oh, hang on, it's come back to me. It's all right. It's come back. It's definitely a good idea if it comes back. That's my theory. If you forget it, it's not a good idea. So this one must be a good idea, guys. So take some notes. This is something that we did at the service side of our telco. Is that we have obviously a lot of service work done around the country. So we have our technicians driving all across various cities around Australia doing service work. And one way we actually made everything more efficient, which at the end of the day, you know, obviously directly affects the margins and the gross profitability of that person for the day, is we actually made sure we grouped our jobs by area and location. So we, for example, have north, like, you know, our technicians go to the north on Mondays, south on Tuesdays, east on Wednesdays, west on Thursdays, for example. Now, obviously, this has changed slightly. I don't know exactly what days what. The tech team obviously manage all of that. But what that means is we're no longer having all this wastage time and costs for one technician to drive from one side of the city in the morning to a job on the north, or vice versa. Or if you're a tradesperson doing quoting on Friday, so you hypothetically do northern suburbs Monday, southern suburbs Tuesday, if you know east Wednesday, west Thursday, and then Friday's your quoting day. Hypothetically, if you can structure your days a bit more effectively and efficiently, you get huge economies of scale. You can get more work done in that particular day, which at the end of the day means more profits for your business.
I love that. I remember you told me when we talked about this on another topic, and you pointed that out, and I just thought that's so logical. But it's just a great, because so many, especially the smaller businesses, you hear these people, you know, you go to the pub at night and you're like, oh man, I had this one in the north today this morning, and then I was in the south this afternoon, and so on, and just it's easy to get caught up in that and keep doing it. But if you can group these things together or look for other similar efficiencies in your business, especially if you're having to move around or if you're having to deal with a particular type of thing, it's another way to address margins.
Yep, absolutely. So, well, there's hopefully like 7 different ways that people in that sort of trade or service-based business can actually increase their profits. And hopefully sort of, if you're in a different niche, you started thinking about how you can apply some of this sort of stuff and thinking what you're doing and how that can affect your 7 levers and increase the profitability of your business.
Absolutely. And just to reiterate, the 7 levers is all about the 7 areas of the business where if you just increase each one by 10%, you can double your profitability. And that can be as simple as one more client inquiry a week, one more client converting to a sale per week, 10% more sales of goods or services, 10% more margin at the end of the business. Those little tiny changes all add up.
Absolutely.
Cool. Some great tips there, mate. I love doing these, and I love seeing you respond to them. When somebody comes in with like a left field inquiry, and you pull it out and you change things around and you come up with these new ideas and you talk about stuff that you're also doing in your real world businesses, even though they're like big, small, or whatever, and we bring it all together. And I think, another great episode and another great 7 levers tips. In this case, for tradespeople.
Fantastic. Well, let's shall we wrap this week's episode up? We'll put a nice little bow on it. We'll say thank you everyone again for listening to the show and all the comments and the support we get on iTunes. So please, if you do enjoy the show and have got something of value out of this, whether it's more revenue, more time, more enjoyment out of your business, please let us know by going to iTunes and thanking us with a comment. That is sort of exactly how we want. We're not charging people for the time we do here. It's all about our ego and helping people with their businesses. So please, give us a bit of a stroke by going to iTunes and leaving a comment.
Yeah, and if you're enjoying these If I Was episodes, tell us first of all if you're in one of these businesses and we've helped you out. That'd be great to know. But also if you've got an idea for one that you'd like us to do. Another place you can go to leave us a comment is preneurmedia.tv, our website where all the episodes are stored. You can get them there as well as on iTunes. You can download them or listen to them online, and you can leave us a comment underneath each episode, along with looking for the show notes with all the links to the things we talk about. So lots of ways to get in touch with us. We love to hear from you, love your feedback, and we'll see you all next week.
See you guys.
You've been enjoying another fine episode of PreneurCast with Pete Williams and Dom Gosher. Make sure to hang out with the boys online at preneurmedia.tv or drop them a line via PreneurCast at preneurgroup.com.